So I'm kind of back from the dead here. Been a couple weeks I put a video up. It's been like 110 degrees in St. Louis for the last 2 weeks. And I've been super slammed. And just when it gets like that, there's not much motivation to make videos. It's just a matter of getting in the garage, getting the work done, and getting out. So it's been a lot cooler. The heat broke this weekend. It's a lot cooler. So we're going to start back up on this Lexus. I haven't started on it yet, but start making videos again on this Lexus hybrid. So glad to be back. Glad the weather's gone, at least for now. Hopefully that was the last hurrah of summer. I'm not a big fan of 110 degree with 50% humidity. They can keep that somewhere else. But anyway, here we go on this Lexus. Alright, we got a 2006 Lexus RX 400H. It's a hybrid. What we have here, I believe, is ABS pump or accumulator leaking. I went ahead and scanned the codes, and we have brake booster pump motor on time, abnormally long, accumulator low pressure, abnormal leak in the accumulator, low or high power voltage supply. And I don't know if you can hear that annoying buzzing noise. That's basically like an alarm on it that just won't go off. I think he said it does go off eventually, but you have to drive it a long time. And anyway, it's telling you there's something wrong with the brake accumulator. Usually what happens is these things get a leak on the internal, and then the motor that's attached to it keeps pumping to build up the pressure. Like right there, it just went on. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I'll get you closer in. And what happens, after you shut the car off, even, the motor will still run to try to build pressure for a long time before it finally shuts off. So we'll go ahead and replace that today. Let me get you closer and I'll kind of show you what the pump's doing. So here's the pump right here, and the accumulator and all the lines that go to it. And you should probably hear this come on. Right there, you can hear it come on. The car's been off now for 10 minutes and it's still running that pump. And what's going on is there's some kind of internal leak in this accumulator, and this pump is trying to build the pressure back up so that you have brakes when you get back in the car or whatever. And from what he said, that'll go on for quite a while before it finally shuts off. That's the pump and the accumulator there. These are pretty expensive from Toyota. I think he said between $1,800 and $2,600 to get it replaced at the dealer. The part alone, I think, is $1,800 to $2,100 from the dealer. He went and got a used one. Supposedly it's a good used one. It looks pretty clean. It's got a 30-day warranty on it, so I guess we're covered there if something goes wrong with it or doesn't work out of the box or whatever. They only work, it's kind of hard to find these in the junkyard or whatever. They only work for 3 years. I think it's 06 to 08. And it's got to be the 400H, the hybrid. Can't use it off a normal one from what I heard. So anyway, we're going to replace it. I haven't done one of these on the hybrid. I've done, my share of accumulator pumps and ABS pumps and all that, but I've not done one on this particular Lexus model. I know there's a kind of a bleeding procedure has to go on with it, so we'll have to do that. First thing we're going to do, though, is take this one off. Now, in the service data, it said I had to remove the windshield wiper motor and this cowl area and all that. And I don't know why it's saying that, because it's obviously right here in the open. It looks like it's pretty easy to get to, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I got it in the right year and the make and the model and all that, and it's telling me I got to remove all this, so I don't think that's. And it even says remove this. I don't think that's necessary on this, just looking at it. Unless there's something I just don't see here. But we'll go ahead and learn together, I guess, on this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably start taking off the lines. It looks like they go back pretty like it'd be hard kind of to mix it up. But I'll go ahead and mark them. I'll probably put a little 1 mark here and then 2 marks here. Just kind of mark those a little bit. Just so I know where they go in case somehow I would get them mixed up. Really not worried about it. I don't think you can, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. We have to take off this hose here that goes to the reservoir. We'll block that off and remove that. And then it looks like it's just a big electrical connector. And then some mounting bolts. It does say in the manual to remove the ABS pump relay, so we'll do that first and file that. And I may go ahead and disconnect the regular car battery on it. Just for safety, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and get caught back up on the service manual, kind of go over that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this battery, pull those 2 ABS fuses, I'll show you that, and then we'll start taking this thing apart. All right, you can see here, this is the first step, according to service data, is to remove that cowl area and the wipers and the wiper motor and all that. I don't understand why they want us to do that. Maybe it's something I'm not seeing yet, but this is, I got it pulled up for a 2006 Lexus RX 400H, and that is the first step it's saying. I'm not going to do that yet, because I don't think we have to do that. I don't know if there's something different. Or if this data is just wrong, it's for a different model. I'm not sure, but maybe I'll find out as I go, and I will have to remove all this. But as of now, I'm going to disregard this part of the service data. All right, after you skip that step, which, like I said, if I have to go back and do it, that's fine. But I don't right now. I don't see the reason for it. But anyway. It says remove both the ABS pump relays. So you just come under here, under your fuse panel, remove the relay and fuse cover. And we're just going to take out these two relays right here. It's on the left back. I'm going to get a relay puller real quick. We'll just remove those. I've already disconnected the battery, the 12-volt battery. I still have the hybrid battery hooked up. It doesn't say anything in the manual about, or the service data about disconnecting the hybrid battery. I don't believe we have to do that, or we're not going to be around anything high voltage on that side. So we're going to leave that hooked up, and we're just going to take these two relays out like the instructions say and go from there. Pretty tight. We got those two out, got the batteries connected. Now we'll move back over to the actual pump itself for the accumulator and start working on that. Alright, so the first thing I did was just block off this line, use just a blocker, block off the line, and I took it off, took the clamp off. There's a little clamp here. Just use a pair of needle nose and pull the clamp back and then pull the line off. Now, again, the directions say remove this, drain this completely out, and remove this off the vehicle. Again, I'm not seeing why we should do that. Maybe, you know, like I said, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any good reason to do that, so I'm going to leave it on. I went ahead and got a screwdriver, small screwdriver, and pulled up under this. And that will, once you get it up high enough, it'll release your connector going to the accumulator here. So I think all we have left as far as for moving it out of the vehicle is we're going to take the lines off individually and then unbolt it from this bracket. It should pull out. So unless, like I said, unless I'm not seeing something, we're not going to remove all this stuff and take that off and all that. So let me get the wrenches for this, and we'll start on this. I'm probably going to mark it somehow, and then I don't think it's really necessary. It's probably going to go back one way, and these aren't going to move that much to where you wouldn't be able to figure out where to go. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I don't want any headaches half hour from now on trying to put it back together. So I'll go ahead and mark it, and then we'll start taking these loose. Alright, so I went ahead and marked it. I just used a mean streak chalk marker type thing. And all I did, this is obviously number 1, so I didn't mark this. I just put 1 mark on this one, 2 marks on this, 3 marks on that. I left this one blank, that's number 4 obviously. And I just threw 2 little marks on this one in case somehow these two would get mixed up, but they won't. So anyway, that's just a safety precaution. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I just don't want any headaches. And I don't think these are going to move around enough to, like I said, to get them out of order, but I'm not taking any chances with it. So I just went ahead and marked it. It took me 2 seconds, and now I don't have to worry about it. Alright, so it's always a good habit to get, these are 10 millimeter. It's a good habit to get a line wrench, or a flare wrench they call it, flare or line, and break them all loose with that. And if you don't know what that is, it's this type of wrench where it goes around and it's kind of flared out. It's you know, it's made just for taking off fittings like this. Break them loose with that, and then once you get them loose, you can go ahead and turn them out with a regular wrench. It's just a lot of times a regular wrench will strip these out, or round them off I should say, if you don't use these to break them loose. So just go by one and start break them loose with a line wrench or a flare wrench, and then go ahead and use a regular open end and finish it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to show you that. It's going to take forever to do, there's 6 lines here. And obviously you don't want to try to start back here. What you want to do is start in the front, loosen it, kind of move this out of the way a little bit, and then it'll allow you to get to the other ones in the back. It's just common sense, but anyway, if you haven't done it before, don't try to get the back ones first. Start on the front, get it loose, and then kind of move it out of the way a little bit, and then go for the back ones. So go ahead and do that. They should all be 10 millimeter, and we'll get that loose. One thing I was thinking about while I was taking this apart just now is earlier when I said I scanned it for codes and it had an accumulator leak or had a leak in it. I'm not talking about, just to clarify that, I don't mean the external leak where you're going to see fluid leaking and stuff like that. What it is, it's going to be an internal leak in the actual accumulator itself. So you're not going to see, unless you got some other issue or whatever, but you're not going to see an external leak on it. Like you would, like if you had a rusted line or something like that. It's going to be more of an internal type thing on it. And that's just wanted to clarify that because I was sitting here taking these loose and I realized I said it was leaking, and you may take that as like an external leak somehow, and that's not going to be the case on this, unless you have something weird going on with the lines or whatever. Alright, so you take the two 10 millimeter nuts that are out on each side of this bracket here, and then you just kind of tilt it out. You got to work with it a little bit, kind of clear your lines a little, and kind of work with it, and kind of tilt it upward like this, and it'll come out. So this is the old unit here, and you got the one nut on this side, and then the one nut right here on this side. They're both 10 millimeter. I use a ratcheting opening take those loose. So I'm just going to set the new one in here, and then we'll go ahead and start bolting this thing back together. And this one is missing one of the mounting tabs. Okay, hold on one second. Alright, so you can see on this one it was missing one of the mounting tabs for the studs. So I took it out of the old one, and all it is a rubber bushing and a little stud. It just pops in there. It doesn't bolt in or anything. So you just slide it in, put the stud in, leave the threaded side out, and then that's all you have to do if yours is missing it. Now this says 06 Highlander on it. I think that is the only other brand or only other vehicle that'll work with this. If you go to the junkyard, I think it's the Highlander and the RX are the only two that work together. They have the same pump. I'm not 100% sure. You gotta check on that, but I'm pretty sure. This has been going on for a while with this guy. He's been trying to figure out another option besides a $2,500 option for a few months, and he was able to drive it for a long time. And then recently, the buzzer just stayed on constantly, and the motor was running constantly, and that's when he knew he had to do something with it. But we have been researching this and kind of going back and forth between getting the new one and the used one. The last few months, so that's the only reason why I mentioned that, because that was something we learned about it, was that the Highlander and the RX are kind of the same. So anyway, I'm going to slide this back in. Alright, so I got it kind of slid back in there. I'm going to go ahead and put these two 10 millimeter nuts on it, each side, just kind of get those started. Like I said, just kind of tilt it backwards, and the lines are kind of tight against it. You'll have to fight those a little bit, but it's not impossible. It's actually not that bad. Getting it in and out. Got to kind of jam your hand in here on this side. Not a lot of room. And when you start these lines, work your way from the back to the front. And you want to be careful not to cross-thread them. It's always easy to cross-thread lines like this. So just take your time and seat them right. You don't want to have to cross-thread a $900 used part or $15 or $18, $2,000 new part. So I'm going to go ahead and start all these lines and get them torqued down, and then we'll finish up putting the butt together, and then we'll go over the bleeding procedure. Alright, once you get all 6 of your lines straightened down and torqued down pretty tight, go ahead and put your hose back on. I put the 2 nuts on and tighten those. I slid this on. On this, leave that white tab up, push it all the way in as far as it'll go, and then push that tab down, and that tab will actually draw the connector in the rest of the way. And put the hose back on the clamp, and I think we're ready now to bleed it. This goes over here and clicks in. So I'm going to hook the battery back up and just go over the service data one more time. Like I said, I haven't done this particular model before, so I want to make sure I'm not missing anything before I tell you guys anything, before I do anything next. So I'm going to go ahead and hook the battery back up and go over the service data real quick before we bleed it. And then hopefully we'll have no more buzzer and no more codes, and he'll have good brakes and boot this thing out for probably half the cost of a dealer, maybe even a little more than that, because you're looking at probably a few hours labor with bleeding, and then whatever you get the part for. So anyway, I think this one was about $900. We've seen them a little bit cheaper, but they didn't have a warranty, and I told them make sure you get some kind of warranty at least to make sure that it works right off the bat at least. So anyway, I'm going to hook the battery back up and then we'll pick it back up. Alright, so this is pretty similar to the Priuses and stuff I've done in the past. It's going to help a lot if you have a really good scan tool to do this. Now you could technically bleed this down without a scan tool. On these Toyotas, what they want you to do is remove those two relays like we did already. And then instead of going, usually on a conventional car, you go to the rear and work your way to the front. What they want you to do on this is bleed the front. Conventionally, you start at the front right, and you basically bleed it the normal way you would, and that is pump it up or use an air bleeder and suck all the air out of it, or bleed it out until the air is out, and then you move on to the left front. After that, you would reinstall the relays. Either have someone or put something on the brake pedal so that's nice and firm, and then all you do is just go to the back and open up one wheel at a time and wait until all the air is purged out. So you should have a good steady flow. Basically the ABS pump is going to bleed the brakes for you in the rear. So you're just going to open it up until all the air comes out, close it, and then open up the other side until the air comes out, close it, and then you should be good to go. You know, during that time you'd want to check your brake fluid and all that. If you have a good scan tool, you're going to go into air bleeding, and it's going to ask you, well, at first it's going to say you want to purge the air, make sure it's full, and then it's going to ask you if the actuator has been removed, master cylinder or stroke cylinder has been removed, or usual air bleeding. So since we removed the actuator, we would go to these steps here. Actuator has been removed. And what it's going to do, it tells you turn this switch off, remove the two ABS motor relays, which we've already done that. And then turning this switch on, so you hit OK. And then it's just going to basically tell you on the front, actuator has been removed. Connect the vinyl tube to bleeder the front right wheel, depress the brake pedal several times, loosen the bleeder with the pedal held down. When the fluid stops coming out, tighten the bleeder, then release the brake pedal. Repeat this procedure until air stops coming out, then press OK to proceed. So what it's going to do is it's just taking you through the steps here. You'll bleed the right front like you normally would, either with someone helping you or with a power bleeder, and then you go to the left front and then you do the steps I already said. So I'm going to go ahead and bleed the front like I normally do with a power bleeder, and I'm going to go through with the scan tool step by step, and then when I get to the rear I'll show you what it's doing back there, and then we'll see what to clear the codes. And the other reason why you're going to need scan tools, because when you're done with the bleeding, if you do remove the accumulator like we did on this job, it's going to have to relearn it. The computer's going to have to relearn the stroke and all that stuff. So there's a procedure in the scan tool to do that. Now if you don't have that, you might be able to do everything that we just did and get it to the point where it's drivable, and then take it somewhere and have them with a good scan tool and pay them to have them relearn it. I wouldn't drive it too much without that. Or if you know someone that can come over and just do it. It only takes a few minutes, and you go through the procedure and it relearns it, and then you're good to go. And then that should be it for everything. So anyway, I'll go over that in the end and show you what's done, what we have to do to do that, and then you can make a decision how you want to do that if you don't have a good scan tool or access to one. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and power bleed these fronts real quick, and then we'll move to the back and I'll show you what's going on with that and how that works. Alright, so I'm at the left rear. The ABS pump is running up front every few seconds, and technically I got to hit the brake. I'm going to block the brake off, and then technically this thing should push all the fluid out until it becomes, you know, a steady stream. So let me go get the brake pedal depressed, and then I'll come back under here and we'll bleed this out real quick and I'll show you what's going on. So I got it open. I think most of the fluid's out. You can see it every time the pump comes on. It'll, right now, right there, you can see the pump just came on, so it's pulling it out harder. There's no more air coming out of it. So just open that up and let it run out. Let the pump cycle a couple times. Right there you can see the pump cycled it, so it's pushing it out harder. So just do that a couple times and then you should have all the air out of it. And you can, this does make a mess. I got a pan under here, but if you use maybe put a hose on there. This one had a lot of air in it. It's getting clear now. I think I'll let it do it one more time, then I'll close it up. But you can tell because it'll spit. It'll sound like it's spitting when there's a lot of air in it. Right there, it's good now. There's no more air in it. But you will make a mess. So either put a hose on there and bring it to a pan, or have a pan under there to catch it. Alright, before I clear the codes or anything, I want to do this ECB utility. This will reset the linear valve offset. And you do this if you replace the actuator, ABS, ECU, stroke sensor's been replaced, whatever. So we're going to hit OK. You must clear the stored value using the reset memory function before the calibration. When the brake actuator, stroke sensor, that's OK. Confirm the parking brake's release, shift lever parks, this switch is on. OK. This is telling us the ABS light's going to blink quickly. Brake warning lights blink slowly. Hit OK. And this is going to reset the linear valve offset. And you can see here the ABS is blinking quickly like it said. And once I get done doing this, it's got 109 seconds to go, 2 minutes altogether. I'll go ahead and reset the codes and see if this thing is good to go. The actual warning light went off now. When I started doing the last procedures, once you do the rears and once you do the front the same way as you did the rears, and once I did that, the warning light went off, and the actual ABS pump kind of had a different sound to it or tone to it. And anyway, the warning light went off, and I think it was pretty bled out and ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead and reset this linear offset valve. What you should do if you're going to replace that, and that's where you're going to need a tool like this. Really, if you're going to do this job, you need to get access to a scan tool to do the brake procedure. I think it's the best way to go. You might be able to get away with not using it, but I think to be sure and go through all the steps that this had me go through, it'd be better to have a scan tool, a good one. Either borrow somebody or possibly have someone come over, a mobile mechanic or somebody, and have them go through these steps. But anyway, you still save a lot of money over taking it to a dealer. But anyway, this is still going. I'm going to go ahead and let this do its thing. I'm going to clear the codes, and then we'll start up and see what it does and how the brakes feel. Alright, you can see here the ABS and the brake lights are all off, traction control, all that good stuff. I went ahead and cleared it. They actually, all the lights went off before I cleared the codes. So, I don't know, they might have cleared it on their own, but I went ahead and cleared it. The brakes feel really good. Let's go ahead and take it for a test drive real quick and make sure it brakes good, stops good, and then we'll be good to go. It's giving me a door, maintenance required, and a door open thing on the dash, and that's it. So anyway, we'll go ahead and test it. They feel good. I moved it around a little bit in the garage here, and they felt real good, real responsive, so I think it's good to go. You want to check your fluid again, and then put your cap back on, and make sure there's no leaks anywhere, and then take it for a spin. But I think this one's good to go. I don't know, with a car like this, it really helps to have a good scan tool or have access to one, really, to do these procedures. I mean, you can save a lot of money getting the part yourself and putting it on, but I don't know if I would recommend bleeding it and going through, and then you're going to have to get the offset, the linear valve offset reset on it and stuff. So I'm not sure if this is really a do-it-yourself project or not. If you somehow have access to a good scan tool, then you're good to go. But otherwise, this may be something you want to leave to someone that has a good scan tool or someone that you trust. So anyway, I think we're good to go. I'm just going to take this around and boot it out. There's not much else I can add to it. Just kind of showed you the procedure and what we go through on this. And I don't really know why that pump is so expensive. It's not really I mean, I know it's got an ECU on it and everything, but man, it's really expensive for these cars. So anyway, thanks for watching. As always, God bless.